Welcome in, builders. This week I'm giving myself a little bit of a treat here. One of my favorite nations, Middle Age Agartha Golem Cult. Agartha is one of the nations that does make it all the way to the late age. Let's see how they are faring in the Middle Age. In the dark caverns under the roots of the earth, a strange kind of one-eyed humanoids has evolved. Untouched by the sun, they have become known to humans as the Pale Ones. When humans first met these pale giants, it was in war. With the destruction of the false god of the Pale Ones, an ancient seal was broken and vast powers of destruction were released. The Pale Ones were almost wiped out of existence, and humans could move down into the caverns of Agartha. Here they found fabulous riches and ancient secrets. The humans replaced the Pale Ones, and now most of Agartha's inhabitants are pale-skinned humanoids with large eyes. Everything left by Ancient Ones has become subject to worship by the humans. Ancient statues are enchanted and given life by golem crafters, priest mages of the Agarthan Golem Cult. A few surviving oracles lead the cult and keep the memories of past ages alive. So in the early age, we are guarding the seal. We have seal guards and things like that. Well, story-wise, we actually get defeated, our god is banished, and in doing that, the seal is broken and unleashed, and we are destroyed. For anyone who knows that national spell, it is very nasty, and it's not a spell that really helps you, it just kind of screws everybody. So that is what happens lore-wise to Agartha. Now we've mostly been replaced by humans, and we have a few Agarthans that are actually still left. We have had a major shift from big, giant worm people sacreds into some Olms, some Agarthans, mostly humanoids, and for us, the Golem Cult. Golems are inanimate statues, essentially, that have been animated, and we are pretty good with them, and they are pretty good. Take a look at our national features here. As mentioned, our race is humans and pale ones. Everybody has some amount of dark vision. We have some poor amphibians, and we get extra gold and resources in cave forts. This is a pretty good bonus. Anyone who's down here and has this is very much loving the cave layer. For military, we have light and heavy infantry. We have huge and sacred ancient ones. We also have a sacred shard guard. And we have troglodyte slaves. For magic, we are very powerful in earth, and we have a bit of fire, water, and death. Our priests are powerful. We can have it is cap only, and it is sold recruit, but we do have recruitable holy threes. Always nice to have. We have a special dominion effect. Constructs, which are essentially inanimates that are not undead, receive an increase of HP inside our dominion. This includes inanimates that are not our sacred or our special summons. So if you had like a wood golem or something, that will get the bonus. So this is pretty handy. I believe the number is 10% per candle. So in theory, at 10 candles, you would double your HP. And constructs tend to have pretty good HP to start with. Very nice bonus there. For scales and blesses, we get 1 bonus bless point. For buildings, we have the standard forts of the era, which means castles. Overall, very nice here. Not a lot of complaints. The one thing we are missing is crossbows from the age. If we had some crossbows here, we would just be golden. However, crossbows in the dark, not particularly great. As for sites, we have 3. We have the Roots of the Earth. This gives us 3 Earth Gems and a Fire. We have the Hall of Oracles. This gives us our cap-only units. In addition, we can have any Earth Mage enter to scry. Scrying is very good. We've been experimenting a little bit with this recently on stream. Very nice. Very, very nice. We'll take a peek at that when we get to that in the guide here. Finally, we have the Chamber of the Broken Seal, which gives us a Death Gem and allows us to get the Shard Guards. A very decent sacred, although in a bit of conflict with what we probably want our bless for, which is our summonable sacred golems. But even without a bless, these guys are okay. And if you can do just a little bit for them, they're actually a really nice sacred, I think. Agarthan units and sacreds. Agartha has a pretty decent lineup here, not overly repetitive, and generally pretty useful, with maybe a couple that are a little more iffy than the others. Starting us off here, we have a Pale 1 Soldier. This can be recruited in all forts and all caves, so we do have non-fort recruitment on these guys. They are okay. Cheap at 9 gold, 14 resources, 18 recruitment, so that's a little iffy on non-fort recruitment, but they bring in a decent amount. They're not good at attacking. 8 attack, even with 15 damage, which is pretty nice. The 8 attack, you're going to really struggle to land damage with that. Also, forget about repelling. Armor-wise, they are okay. We have a Scale Mail Cuirass, an Iron Cap, and a Buckler. They have the standard traits for Agarthan troops, for Pale Ones. This is Amphibian. We don't need to eat. We are cold-blooded. We have a Siege bonus, and we have 100 Dark Vision. Overall, I don't see getting these guys particularly. Do note that they have iron gear, so using them as amphibious troops isn't going to work very well because their gear will get broken pretty easily. Beyond that, yeah, including their spear. Beyond that, not overly useful on this one. Next up, we have a Wet One. The same chassis as the last guy, but no equipment. He has a stone spear. His main thing is, this is a troop that we could use to help us get underwater. That can have some value depending on your game situation. Again, the standard traits. Pretty low morale, I should note, at 10. Next up, we come into some of the human troop line. I'm actually going to do these, I think, in reverse order. We have the Agarthan Light Infantry. Agarthan Light Infantry is pretty bog standard human infantry, notable for having dark vision. 10 gold, 10 resources, 9 recruitment. Very gentle cost here. Human stats across the board, although low precision because we're underground and big eyes and I don't know. Dark vision does make them okay down below. Generally speaking, I don't get a lot of these guys. Again, 10 morale. They should be noted they're relatively high combat speed for us at 10. We are very slow with most of our units. Equipment-wise, we have a short sword, is iron. We have full leather armor, an iron cap, and a shield. Again, unless you just need to bulk out some numbers for whatever reason, I'm not in love with these guys. I guess they're notable for being reasonably priced and not complete misery. While 11 attack isn't the best, we also don't have a lot of better options. And the short sword with the 11 attack and 15 piercing slash damage is actually kind of standard across most of these troops. Next up, we could go up to slightly heavier. This is the Agarthan infantry, notable here for jumping up to 15 protection. Note we have the same stat line. Our cost for resources have gone up to 22. We still have our dark vision. We wield the same weapon though, so damage is not increasing here. In fact, we're going to tire out faster, so arguably you could say that they're not going to have as good of damage, but the trade-off here is 15 protection, moving up to the chainmail hauberk, an iron cap, and a kite shield. Should be noted, kite shields are pretty dang good. This will help you against arrow fire and maybe even crossbows, although still kind of iffy, but at least we're in the realm of like maybe we could take a hit. 19 plus 15 if you got lucky where it hits you. Maybe you could take a bolt. Finally, for the human troops, we have Agarthan Heavy Infantry. Same weapon. We have moved up to full chainmail, a half helmet, and a kite shield. These guys have 18 protection, and it's true 18. 0 natural, so if you can get them some buffs, you could really pump this pretty good. This is all right. It should be said, these are very high on resources. We're up to 27 resource cost. But for that, I do feel these are usable. They would sure like to either have an attack buff or debuff the enemy's defense. Either way would really help these guys out. Beyond that, they're fine. They're usable. Next, we go back to another Pale One, the Defender of the Halls. This is kind of a specialty troop. He is a standard Pale One here. He has poor amphibian because he's weighed down by so much gear, I think. Notable for having siege bonus 2 and castle defense bonus 1. We'll talk about those in a second, but that gives this guy kind of his niche use. For 13 gold, 23 resources, 26 recruitment points, you get good HP at 20. Strength, we're up to 13, and this is where the siege and siege defense comes into play. For siege strength, we have 3.7. Most humans have a 1.0 siege strength, so we are worth almost 4 humans for one of these guys. And for siege defense, we have 1.3. Most humans have 0.5. So again, almost 3 this. So 4 to 1 and 3 to 1 almost. That's pretty darn efficient. And also note they don't need to eat. So you can pile these guys into a fort and not have to worry about supplies if you're getting to that large of numbers. I like these guys a lot. I tend to not get them, but if you had time and the pre-planning to do it, it would really be nice just to have a squad of these guys. Like, if you somehow had 50 or 100 of these guys as kind of a specialty squad that just helped you go around and crack forts or try to get them inside of forts that might come under siege, pretty effective. 12 morale is pretty good. They have good magic resistance. They're only 10 gold a year for upkeep. That's not too bad for this troop. Where's the scale mill hauberk and iron cap with the kite shield? 14 protection plus the kite shield. Again, you could maybe, and with 20 HP, you could probably take a crossbow bolt. That's pretty notable. I like these guys. They are amphibious, but again, remember, we're using iron gear, so that's not going to be the best thing ever. Next up, we have a troglodyte slave. As far as slave units go, this one's pretty decent. He does cost 50 gold, but he's only 1 resource and 40 recruitment points. What I like to do in the early game is I'll recruit what I'm going to get, which is generally Shard Guard, and then I will knock my Shard Guard back so I have some resources left, and then I'll try to even out my recruitment and resources down to 0 by getting a few of these. As far as tramplers go, these are pretty good. Size 6 is big enough underground to be able to trample most things. I can't think of anything standard that they can't trample. They do have 7 protection, just natural protection. That's not terrible. Their magic resistance is a little low, but morale of 12. And because they're a slave unit, they are very cheap, only 20 gold a year. And let's be honest, most of these guys are not going to live a full year. So you're going to pay just a fraction of that. Trait-wise, they have trample, they're animals, they have 100% dark vision, and they are slaves. 37 HP and 26 strength, very nice. Should be noted they're also good at siege strength, another unit that maybe could find some value there. They're tramplers too, so having a squad of them just rush in right away at the beginning of a siege to maybe try to trample the doorway open could be a thing. We do have a taskmaster that helps lead these, so that's another little bonus. After the early game, unless I was dealing with maybe glamour troops, I probably wouldn't get these. In both my test games that I ran, I didn't use them past the beginning of the game, but in the beginning of the game, or when a trampler is just really valuable, nice tramplers. I quite like these guys. Next up, we have Ancient One. This is a cap-only unit. This is kind of similar to our early age Sacreds. He is a Ancient One, Pale One. So he is up to size 6. So do note, only one of these guys per square. I will back up here and say that the Pale Ones down here are size 4 and the humans are size 3. So 2 humans and a Pale One or some combination. We can do a little bit of size manipulation to try to fill up squares. Back to the Ancient One. I don't love these guys. I don't know if they're really worth their cost. I suppose they do have the benefit of having throwing rocks. Only has 2 ammunition, but it's decent range and okay damage. That's something. Trait-wise, they are sacred. They're amphibians. They do have the standard effect, which is +1 morale to the squad that they are in. They don't need to eat. They are cold-blooded. They have a massive siege bonus, and they have dark vision. Their siege strength is 8.2 each. So if you could grab maybe 10 of these guys and head them around with your army, again, that's just so much siege strength. We are actually pretty good at sieging things down. Beyond that, they are wearing the iron gear, but I don't love these guys. 10 attack is difficult to use. They are sacred, so they have that going, but it's just a spear. There's nothing really to write home with there. Next up, we have the Ancient Stone Hurler. Similar to the previous guy, but he doesn't have a spear or any of the gear, just a scale mail cuirass. I don't think I would get these guys. As always, the meme of boulder throwers. I mean, I suppose he's got 5 ammunition. So if you're going for the memes, maybe you go with this guy, but I don't think that's worthwhile on middle-age Agartha. Next up, we have the Shard Guard. This is our final cap-only sacred. I like this one a lot. These are Olms that have geared up, and they have made shard glaives out of pieces of the ancient seal. And this is a really nice weapon. So they have a length 3, 11 attack value. It's slashing and piercing, and it is 27 magic damage. And note, it's 2-handed weapon, so you get extra damage if you buff strength. It also has extra effect on damage curse. Curse means if you take damage, you have a higher percentage chance of taking an affliction. So on normal human troops, yeah, you probably just kill them with the damage. But if you're fighting something tough, like a monolith, let's say, not only is it magic, so we could get through ethereal, or invulnerability. But if you could just get them a curse on them, then even small hits become pretty dangerous as you can start stacking up afflictions. And you could rapidly lose an invulnerable fighter to his Achilles heel affliction stacks that you can keep going. I like these guys a lot. My main complaint about them is they don't necessarily want the same blesses that our sacred statues are going to want. So, and I think that's the point of Middle Age Agartha, is you want to use your statues. So it's unfortunate, man, if these guys were the sacred in the early age, oh, chef's kiss. But even without that, if you can give them just a little something something, they're pretty reliable troops. They're size 5, so we do get 2 of them per square at full efficiency, if you want to call it that. 16 protection. It's 13 on the body and 15 on the head, but we also have a little bit of natural protection. So pretty good there. We have good strength. Our defense skill isn't the best, but it's also not the worst for a large unit like this. Trait-wise, we are Sacred, Amphibian. We have 5 Cold Resist, 15 Poison Resist. We don't eat, we get a Siege bonus, and we have Dark Vision. I like these guys a lot. I tend to always max out recruitment of these in my capital if I can. I think they're a pretty solid unit. Also, one of the main difficulties underground is the chance of having areas that start with ethereal troops. We can just straight up counter them with this. And we're on a chassis that's pretty good, that we're not going to get instantly got by a ghost or something, or shade. We can actually have a chance to fight back somewhat. The biggest weakness here, I would say, is only having 11 attack. We're only going to have 2 attacks per square, so very low density to start with, and it's not the best attack. When we talk about blesses, we'll touch back on these guys. Finally, we have the Wet One. This can be recruited in underwater forts. It is a standard Pale One chassis. However, he is wearing sharkskin armor and a sharkskin cap. So this is your premier underwater troop if you're not having statues to do that job for you. Overall, just having a recruitable underwater troop, aka you also can build underwater forts, is pretty nice. Yeah, not much to say about this guy. He's nothing stupendous, but against like indies, he'll do just fine. Against an actual underwater nation, you're going to find this guy quite lacking. But better than nothing, at least. Heroes, commanders, and prophets. We have a few heroes here, and they are pretty good ones. We have the Onyx Oracle. This is a priest level 3, earth 3, water 1 caster. He is a fortune teller 15. He's got spirit sight. He's mindless and inanimate, so he would actually benefit from our domain bonus for HP. He's rather nice. Having a guy here with 25 poison resistance, we do have a summon that has a poison cloud, so he could lead like statues and bless them and buff them, is pretty handy. I do like having the fortune teller, pretty good there. Overall, 50 morale, I should also note, so he's never going to run away on you. Very, very strong hero if you can get him. Do note magical being, so things that affect magical beings like moonblades or certain spells can be very devastating. Watch out for that. Next, we have Decrepit. This is an ancient dude. For his Dominion summon, I never got this guy before. I want to say he brings in, I want to say it's Olms, but I'm not 100% sure. It might be undead based on corpses and other things down here. Fortune Teller, though, is useful. He is a priest level 1. I think he's most notable for having 4 death, which our highest normally is about 2. So he brings in some higher death access. Death 4 is plenty to be able to climb death pretty high. So very nice there, and has good earth also. Finally, we have the Mason of the Underworld. This guy is most notable for having the Mason trait. Mason trait means you can build a fort level 1 higher than normal. We can normally go up to castles, so this would allow us to build citadels. Citadels are an age early, so they are very, very powerful. If you get this guy, I would strongly suggest you twice-born him in case he gets killed by something or just dies of old age or a disease or something, and he can come back and continue his work for you. Also, he's stealthy, so you can actually sneak him around to your different castles and whatnot so he can do his work. He has siege bonuses, he has castle defense bonuses, he's a spy, and he has a forge bonus. Magic-wise, he's a priest level 1. He's got death 3, earth 2, water 1, fire 1. Very, very nice unit here. high death than we normally have, but I think his main thing is his Mason trait. You're going to be very happy if you get this guy. He's also a great candidate for giving him a way to go underwater and build bigger forts down there also. Quite nice. Commander-wise, we have a decent lineup here. We have the Agarthan Scout. He is a relatively standard scout, but he also has dark vision. Very nice to have recruitable scouts. Next, we have the Troglodyte Trainer. This guy is the premier leader for your Troglodyte slaves. 60 gold, 15 resources, 1 recruitment point. Not breaking the bank particularly. And as far as a slave/animal trainer, he's actually pretty well equipped. He's got an iron cap and a chainmail cuirass. Weapon-wise, he has a whip and a short sword. He has Dark Vision, Beastmaster +2, Taskmaster +2, and he's ambidextrous for his weapons. So overall, he has a -1 for leadership due to his low leadership score, but a +4 down here. So you end up with a +3 to lead Troglodytes around. As mentioned earlier, I do think Troglodytes are okay to help you out expanding and in certain applications. So I actually don't mind this guy. As I go on and I need them less and less, if they have survived, they tend to turn into fort builders for me. So it's a guy that has some uses. I do like that. Next up, we have the Pale One Captain. Can be recruited in forts and all caves. 75 leadership with inspirational. Standard traits for a Pale One. Standard gear for our Pale Ones. I'm not in love with this guy. I think he's fine. You can use him to lead some troops around, like maybe your human troops. But we also have a Cave Captain. While the Cave Captain is slightly more expensive, I don't know, you could go either way. We only have a buckler here. 14 protection with a buckler versus 15 protection with a kite shield. We're less vulnerable to arrows and crossbows. I kind of like the Cave Captain in all honesty. 100 leadership, so we get a +1 for up to 3 squads versus our 75 with inspirational 1. So I think it's here or there. I think I would rather pay a little bit of a premium for a Cave Captain. You could go either way though. Next up, we have Attendant of the Oracles. This is a priest level 1 sacred with dark vision. Otherwise, he's a pretty standard indie priest level guy. If you needed to help blessing things, this guy could help do that. Maybe you have very small squads of statues and he's blessing them. That would be one use for him. I tend to not get this guy and use other things. Next up, we have the Earth Reader. Speaking of other things, he is a Earth 1, Priest 1, Sacred. He has Dark Vision and 5 Fortune Teller. For 7 research, it's going to cost us 46 gold per year. So that's pretty efficient. I like that. Combat-wise, he's not particularly good. But if you need to, you could give him 1 Earth Gem. He can use that gem to summon Earth Power. And that makes him an Earth 2. And Earth 2 can at least do some buffing for you, while not spectacular. This guy's going to be your main researcher. You're probably going to have quite a few of these. However, Golem Crafter is our main combat mage who can also do research and can do a lot of our ritual spells. So it can be hard to choose which one you want to get. The Earth Reader also has the benefit of not being old age, whereas the Golem Crafter is old age and he's decently old. So that's a little bit of a bonus to the reader. For the Golem Crafter, though, he is a bit pricey. 295 gold versus 115. But much more pathing, much more combat pathing. And as mentioned, he can do some of our rituals for us. Fire 1, Water 1, Earth 2, Priest level 1, and he is Sacred. He does 13 research for 118 gold. So he's still on the efficient side. I'm not too mad about that. He has a maul, but he's not good with it, and he has no armor. So you'll often want to give them some sort of personal protection buff from their magic. Can be pretty good. And you're going to just need tons of these. You're never going to have as many as you want because you're going to have a lot of rituals you're going to want to be doing on Agartha. Next, we have the Ancient Lord. This is a cap-only unit. He is the leader of the Ancient Ones. He is sacred and otherwise has standard traits. Inspirational +1, so he ends up with +2 for people he is leading. He's all right. Do note that if you're just leading around small people and you lead them around with him, you can target this out with target large enemy monsters. So just be aware of that. Like, crossbows would love it if this was your only leader in an army because they could easily pick him out and just end him. No shield. 44 HP is decent, but only 13 protection. And only 10 of that plus 3 natural on the body. That's rough. That's a bit rough. Next, we have Cap Only, Oracle of the Ancients. This is a slow to recruit mage priest who is very powerful. Priest level 3, great. Death 1, Earth 3, and 100%, well, 110% random of fire, water, earth, and death. These guys are amazing. Again, you'll never have enough of them. You would love to recruit them every turn, all game, if you could afford it. 540 gold is very pricey, but do remember he's slow to recruit, so that's every other turn you're going to be paying that. If you get an Earth 4, that means you could Earth Boot up to Earth 5 and cast really big stuff. If you get a Death 2, you could build a Skull Staff, and that would help you out a lot with some of our spells and just spells in general. Fire and water ones, I would say, are much less useful, but there's some cross-pathing in there that can be rather handy. Research-wise, they're not efficient. 15 research for 216 gold a year. That's not what you're getting them for. They have standard traits. They are Fortune Teller 15 and Inspirational +1. So 100 troops at +2 bonus is not bad. They do have 40 magical leadership and 50 undead leadership. It should be noted on our other guys. No magic, no undead. 50 magic, no undead. 10 magic, no undead. So if you're going to use undead stuff, it's kind of him or something you're going to summon in maybe. And also you have a lot of magic beings that you're going to need to move around. So the 40 magical leadership here is pretty nice. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck on this guy with 50 while being good, but on a very fragile chassis. Whereas this guy's got 40 HP and you could gear him up. I don't think that would be a total waste. Just a piece of armor and a hat maybe would be fine. Maybe give him a shield. That'd be nice. You do have a lot of uses for gems, though, so watch out how much you're spending on crafting versus actually using other spells. Overall, very happy with this unit, though. Finally, we have the Wet One Captain. This is our underwater recruit. He has a bone trident, and he will help lead around your wet ones. Nice to have, nothing particularly to write home about. Who would I make my prophet? I think you have a couple options here. I think Pale One Captain would be fine. The Cave Captain, you start with one of these. I tend to make him my first prophet, would be fine. And if he dies, you're probably going to want to do an ancient one, an Oracle of the Ancients, because that way you can have a priest level 4, which will allow you to do fanaticism. Very nice there. National items and spells. As for national items, we do not have any national items. As for national spells, we actually have several national spells. Starting in Conjuration, at 3, we have Row Pack, Barathas Pack, Summon Penumbles, and Awaken Shard Whites. I'm actually going to do these in order of that, just because we have so dang many of them. Magma Child. This is kind of like a ritual spell to summon in Fire Elementals. They're actually pretty good. They have Flame Strike, which is an AoE 1 armor-piercing attack for 12 fire magic damage. They have Firepower. They have a good fire shield with 10 armor-piercing damage. They have Heat 3. They are poison resistant and fire resistant with a decent HP pool. These guys are very nice. They would like protection buffs, quite a bit actually, because they only have 8 protection. So getting that up a little bit higher would be good for them. With the fire shield and the AoE attacks, great for clearing out chaff, especially like on dead things. Quite good summon here. With the Row Pact, it's going to cost you 2 fire gems, and you're going to get 3 of the Magma Child. And it's only 1 fire, 1 earth, so we can do that quite often. For the next one, the Barathas Pact, it's going to summon in 2 earth elementals. This is going to cost you 3 earth gems, and it's going to be 2 earth to be able to use it. So we can do that. Should be noted here, this is a construct. He is mindless and he is not undead. So you would get the bonuses of your Dominion. So you could actually have up to 140 HP on these guys. That's a lot of HP on just a pretty easily summonable guy. He has Reconstruction 8%. This is the equivalent of Regeneration. Amphibian, poison resist. He's a magic being. He's inanimate and mindless. He has trample. He's blind and has spirit sight, and he has affliction resistance. He uses crystal fists if he can't trample you, which are piercing magic, 21 damage. These guys are all right. Because we have sacred summons that use earth gems, though, it can be hard to justify. Next up, we have Shard Wights. The Shard Wights are a Death 1, Earth 1 ritual for 10 death gems, and you get 5 plus half level of them. They are pretty decent. I'm not in love with these guys because we have better options, but they're essentially pale ones that are undead. They are the guards who died guarding the seal but resurrected. They have a cold aura, though, and we have cold-blooded troops, and we like fiery stuff, kinda, so that's a bit of an anti-synergy there, unfortunately for them. We have Penumbles. This is a pretty decent unit, again. He is going to be Death 1, Earth 1, 6 death gems, and we get 6 of these. They are ethereals with 30 HP. That's pretty nice. They have cold resistant and poison resistant, and they have a life drain attack, which is 15 magic damage. This is one of those nasty troops that if you ever have to fight them like during expansion, you just curse your luck, because they can actually be really good. Should be noted, in 6, they gain spirit form, which means we can't give them like Iron Skin or any buffs like that. So we can't buff their protection, which is unfortunate. Very unfortunate. With some protection buffs, these guys used to be just absolute terrors. 5 Conjuration. We have Summon Umbrals. Umbrals are kind of like the big daddies of Preumbles. This is a 64 HP ethereal with a better life drain attack, similar traits. For these guys, you require Death 2, Earth 1. They're 8 gems, but you still get 6 of them. I would definitely prefer Umbrals over Preumbrals, or Penumbrals. For sure, they just have more HP, which gives them more time to do life drain. I do like them a lot. Do note that those are both undead, so they are banishable, and they don't get our Dominion HP bonus because they're undead, but very usable, a great place to put death gems if you have some. At Conjuration 4, we have Olm Conclave, Water 1, Earth 1. It's going to give us 15, and that's going to give us Olm Sage Commanders and 15 Great Olms. Those are the same units that we could recruit in the early age. The Olm Sage is a Water 2, Earth 1. Pretty darn nice. Note, as a summon, they have no upkeep. Pretty nice. They have the Life Drain and the Mind Blast, just like they used to. He's a Fortune Teller, Spirit Sight, they're blind, they're cold-blooded, Poison Resist, Cold Resist, Amphibious, Sacred, so your Bless can affect here. Overall, while this isn't, like, stupendous for you, they're high enough they can craft a Water Bracelet, so you could get to Water 3. Then you could summon Sea Trolls, and you could transfer the bracelet to him, and he would be Water 4. So you could climb water a bit with these guys. And they come in with 15 Great Olms, so we still have some access to Mind Blast. And they're sacred, so again, they can use your blessing there. Pretty nice. Next, we move over to Enchantment. In Enchantment, we have quite a few spells here. Attentive Statues at Enchantment 1. For 3 Earth Gems from an Earth 2 Mage, you can summon up 2 Attentive Statues. I'm going to go through all the spells, and then we'll flip over and look at these. At 3, we have Enliven Statue. Again, 2 Earth Caster, 2 gems, gets you 2 of them. So we're a little more effective here, and these are much better statues, as we'll see. At 5, we can summon in Living Mercury. This is a Poison Cloud type unit. We can also enliven Granite Guards, which are really large statues. At 6, we can enliven Marble Oracles. This is a summonable priest level 2. It is noted that this is a 3 Earth, 1 Death, so you are going to need your Ancient One Oracles to do this, and they're 35 Earth Gems, and that's a little hard to justify him. At 8, we get Hall of Statues. Do note this requires Earth 5. That is a little difficult, although possible for to do natively. For 30 Earth Gems, we get 20 plus living statues. That's going to be the level 3 guys. So I think that the Hall of Statues is probably the goal. I think those are very, very good. The Sentinels, yeah, the Sentinels are really good ones. let's take a look at all those. So attentive statues here. These are decent. In the test game behind us here, I was testing something different, and I don't normally get these guys, but I just wanted to do something quick. So I got them, and I was trying to get them damaged so I could test something, and I couldn't get them damaged while I was expanding. So I thought that was kind of funny. Also note, these are not our sacred summon statues. They do not have sacred status. That hurts them a lot. I don't think you want these guys if you can help it. It's unfortunate. I wish they were sacred because they would be kind of viable, but they are not. With only 13 HP, that's a little rough, but do note it'll be a little bit higher if you have your Dominion up. They have 22 protection. That's decent. But the real star of the show here is going to be our Sentinels. This is the Enchant 3 summon. You also get these from that really high Hall of Living statues at 8. This is a sacred inanimate statue. Note, magic being. Note, mindless. They have a high patrol bonus. Note they have never heals. This means that in order to be able to heal, you need to walk to a lab. So most troops, if you survive battle, you just automatically go to max HP. These do not. None of our inanimates do. You have to go to a lab to get your HP back, or have a different way to do it, like a blessing. So should definitely be noted here, because this is a pretty major weakness if you're not careful. Beyond that, they have slash resistant. So if you're resistant to damage, you take half damage from those attacks. Pierce resistance, poison resistance, magical being. So we're vulnerable to certain things here. We have 25 base HP. So if you have 5 candles, that means you're going to get about 12 more bonus HP. That's pretty significant for a 22 protection unit. Very nice. They wield glaives. These are length 3s, but like most of our troops, only 11 attack. That's a little bit iffy. And they have 27 blunt damage. At size 4, that is really bad attack density on a mediocre attack. Something to consider when you're thinking about your bless. Also, we do not have armor on, so you cannot temper armor on these guys to raise it. You would need a protection buff. And naturally, we have 22 natural protection, so even our big buff spells are going to be somewhat ineffective on them. You get less as you get higher natural protection. Overall, though, I think that is the nation-defining unit. You're going to want these guys, and you're going to want them bad. In the early game, you could totally rush out 10 to 20 of these and rush something down. They're that good if people don't have, especially magic, as a way to counter them. Should also be noted, inanimates don't get tired. That's going to be a key point later on. Next up, where are you? Living Mercury. Living Mercury is essentially a Mercury Golem, or more specifically, a Mercury Elemental. It is resistant to slash, blunt, and pierce, and poison damage. Mindless being, blind, spirit sight, affliction resistant 99. I believe that means you're immune. And a poison cloud 5. Note, our statues are essentially poison immune, and we have some other stuff that's pretty resistant or is immune. And as a construct, you get the HP bonus. So you could have a 280 HP unit with a poison cloud and resistant to damage. Do note, again, we have Spirit Form, which is a nerf because we can't buff his protection easily, but maybe we could get some Astral and make him ethereal or something, or whatever we can do to increase his survivability. These can be really nasty for people who are not ready for countering poison clouds. And they are not super duper expensive. Let me double check him. He is Water 1, Earth 1 ritual to cast, and he only costs 6 water gems. We don't have a ton of uses for water gems. It's either this or Olms. So in the right circumstances, I feel like Living Mercury can be pretty darn good. Next up, and I think our last guy, nope, second to last. Well, yeah. Granite Guardian. These are a size 6 sacred statue. They are the same traits that we've been seeing on our statues. They're also still sacred. The problem with these guys is very, very low attack density. They're size 6, so you could share a square with a size 4 or size 3. That's something. But they're still just 11 attack. I don't think these guys are the play. They do have a ton of HP at 75, and then I guess additionally you'll have that Dominion bonus, so that's pretty handy. But I don't love these guys. The one use I could really see here is you're using a bunch of human-sized 3s. These guys can wade to the front. That's kind of handy, and that ensures that they're sharing a square with somebody else at least, so that's something in their favor, but I don't think this is where it's at. I think that the Sentinels at their size 4 is where it's at for that. Finally, we have the Marble Oracle. For some reason in my head, I thought these guys were priest level 3s. If they were 3s, they would be way more interesting. However, even at 2, these guys could lead your statues around. They could all go underwater. They could all sit in a poison cloud. So it does have the bonus that he is the same as statues. So you'll be good in the same circumstances and bad in the same circumstances. That's something. He's a fortune teller. Because he's a summon, he does not cost anything. Overall, though, for I think it's 35 Earth Gems, I would much rather have a bunch of fighting statues than an Oracle. Again, I'm very sad that he is not a Holy 3. That would have been really nice. Beyond that, for Magic, we are kind of focused. We can do some low-level fire, water, death stuff, but what we mainly are good at is Earth. So standard Earth things apply. I think in the early game, you're almost certainly rushing to enchant 3 at least, so you can enliven statues. Getting 1 statue per 2 gems, while expensive, they're just so bloody good. They're so good that I think that's worthwhile. Beyond that, in enchantment, we have a lot of other useful things. Strength of Giants is really nice on any of our troops, statues included, but our human troops especially would like a little bit more damage to help get through the heavy armor and shields of the age. But again, that'll work on statues too, so that's pretty nice. We also have Claymen here. These are another inanimate construct, so you could summon these in to bulk out. 10 plus, so if you had a higher water for some reason, you'd get quite a few of them. They're not going to be sacred for you, but I believe Claymen do have a natural reconstruction, so they are regenerating, and they use water gems, so just a way to use up different types of gems if you don't like your other options, or you just haven't researched Conjuration to get to those other options. Could be something there. We also unlock Fire Shield, could be good on our casters. Strength of Giant stuff. We can do some skeleton raising, but we probably don't want to because we're not going to have a lot of Death 2 guys. Maybe like one army is running around with some umbrals and you want to just throw some skeletons in front to eat some banish attempts. Maybe I could see that. Maybe. That's a big maybe. Going down deeper, Terracotta Army. This is a way to use fire gems to get constructs, and you get 15 plus of these. Pretty darn nice. Terracotta soldiers are resistant to fire also, and I believe I think they're resistant to slashing and piercing if memory serves. But remember, you're going to be able to raise their HP. So while in most nation, Terracotta soldiers are kind of whatever, that's actually vaguely interesting here with the higher HP. Earth Shatter Hammers is another one. Even though we're using spear or glaive-like weapons on our statues, they do blunt damage. So blunt and slashing attacks will stun on hit. That could be really interesting. If you are fighting something really hard, like a monolith or other constructs, being able to stun things can be rather nice. This is a spell I really have not got a lot of time to test out, but I really like the idea of it. I hope we'll get to use it. We'll see. Beyond those, Twiceborn is really good if you do get any Death 2 guys or anything else that's Death 1 and you can give him a Death Staff. I do think that's worthwhile to keep those guys alive, especially those heroes that you can get. At 5, we've got our Living Mercury unlock, but we also get fire resistant buffs, can be pretty handy. We get the larger strength buffs. If you're using your human troops, we have weapons of sharpness. That can be really nice. Deal AP damage, so you can ignore half of protection. Would make those short swords become much more deadly than they otherwise would be. Down at 6, we have Enlivened Statues. This is another statue summon spell. I think you're sticking to your other ones, but it is an option. You also get Riches from Beneath. I don't know about this one in our case. we're probably going to be trying to transition to a gem economy, so I don't know how valuable resources would be at this point, and especially for 70 Earth Gems, but maybe, if you just need the income and you are recruiting a lot of troops. At 7, we get Earthblood Deepwell. This is a very, very good one. I think you do want to try to, like, stop statue production right before you get this, so you save up 80 gems, and it requires 6 Earth to cast, but 17 Earth Gems a month, and 5 more if you're in a cave. We do have a cave start, so we are going to get 22 Earth Gems if we do this, say, in our capital, per turn. So in 4 turns, we're already going to turn a profit. That's a lot of statues. That's a lot of statues to be pumping out there. And finally, at 8, we get that Hall of Statues. Perfect place to use those extra Earth Gems. I do think that's something to shoot for. I don't know if you make it, but I do think it's something to shoot for. Thaumaturgy isn't particularly interesting for us. I will say Battle Fury, buffing attack and morale, would be rather nice for us. We don't have a ton of Firecasters, but we could do either a Fire Gem or summon some Bottled Fire and do Phoenix Power up to Fire 2, and then just spam this spell. I don't hate the idea of using that, even if it's not the best. Beyond that, I don't think there's too much here I'm in love with. Construction, of course, boosters, especially Death. Earth Hammers could be useful. Earth Boots could be useful. Those are the biggest ones for me, but if you could find access to boosters, whether it's nature or air or death, maybe that's where you spend your death gems. Research boosters would be really nice. As you saw in enchantment, we want to go really high, and there's other stuff we want too. So research boosters would be handy. In addition, we get the Temper Armor line of spells. For our non-statues, they quite like that. And there's several constructs here, like Clockwork Horrors, Crusher Constructions, Wooden Constructions, all kinds of things. Even maybe a Poison Golem. That's something I've never seen actually used. Golems are constructions, so if you wanted to do Astral Earth Crosspath on your Pretender, and somehow you had some gems, they would benefit from our Dominion. Could be pretty nice there. Forge of the Ancients, probably too expensive for us, but an option. In Evocation, unfortunately, Bladewind is I'm not a huge fan of the spell in general. At least our statues are basically immune to it. We're unlikely to be able to hurt ourselves too badly, so there's that. Beyond that, it also opens up the Rust line of things. I actually don't like that. The AI likes to cast Rust Mist, but we have lots of troops that use armor, and the AI is not great at scripting it so we don't hit ourselves. That's a bit unfortunate. Beyond that, we do have people who can do like magma type spells. So the Fire Earth Crosspath is something we could do, and those are decent spells. I don't think we're a particularly strong evocation nation, but it's a possibility. At 5, we also could do Earthquake. Earthquake could be of interest here. It does 8 armor-piercing damage, so do note that's pretty strong. Defense negates, but if you have like regenerating statues in front of your guy who's going to be casting this, maybe some Earth Spam could be something, especially against like human troops. Like 2 of these spells against most human armies, if they're not high defense, high protection, can wipe out a good chunk of them. And we have people who can do this just with an Earth power. So pretty easy for us to do Earthquake spam if we want. Alteration is another line that has a bunch of really good stuff for us. The protection buffs, of course. But in addition to that, Earthmeld and its other varieties grabs people and lowers their defense usually to like 2. So our relatively bad attackers can easily hit them. And it requires strength plus DRN versus 23 to get free. So human-type troops can really struggle sometimes to be able to get out of this. And we have very strong troops, especially our non-human ones. So we can break out of that relatively easy. Armor of Achilles, that's another way we could break enemy armor. Some of the fire stuff, like cold resistances and others, could be good here. Destruction for breaking armor that's non-natural can be pretty good. This is pretty big. Curse of Stones, another way to hurt your enemy on that. Oh, we should also mention, I'm going to jump back over to enchantment. Rigor Mortis. This actually is vaguely interesting. It's hard for us to do. We would need Yeah, we would probably need to do some shenanigans, because if we rolled into a death 2 and then we made a staff that only takes us to death 3, but we could get there, and rigor mortis doesn't affect our statues. So we could put rigor mortis and curse of stones up and really hit the enemy with really, really heavy fatigue play, whereas our statues and umbrals and maybe some undead summoning would not have any issues with that. So that's a very strong combo between Curse of Stones and Rigor Mortis, since we have troops who are immune. In Conjuration, not only do we have some of our national spells, but of course, summon Firepower, Phoenix Power and summon Earth Power. Both are pretty good. Maybe combat elemental spamming could be a thing. Salamanders could be a thing. Other various summons, especially if it's not using earth gems or water gems, and maybe fire gems, could be something you'd want to look at. Should be noted here, cave kobolds, we are underground, so you could get their resource bonuses. You would need to find some glamour or build your pretender with it. Cave kobolds do come in with a magic weapon, so that's something for them. Could be vaguely useful there. I think we spend our gems on not trolls, so I don't think we go down like Troll King's Court or anything. If you go with fire on your pretender, you might consider doing a flame spirit. This gets you a fire 3 caster. That would be pretty handy for giving out the attack buffs on your armies. Could be pretty good there. So overall, a lot of magic that's pretty good for us. We would like to get some higher death. We would like some higher fire. We love earth. We love earth gems. So never ever going to have enough earth gems. You're always going to want more. All right, let's bring all of that together. I switched over to my other test game here, and there's a few things I want to point out that are not plainly obvious. One, you start underground. So you may have the underground yourself like I did in this test game, and the world is your oyster at that point. We get bonus income and resources in caves. So scale-wise, you can actually go Sloth and Turmoil and still be okay. Now, this is later in the game, but you can see I'm getting a decent amount of guys out of here, and I've started pulling some more resources out. I was able to get an extra one earlier from my capital. We have a site that lets us scry, and any Earth Mage can do it. So you can have just these level 1 Earth Readers be able to scry for you. When you scry on a spot, you can actually see which thrones are there. We've been talking about spies and scrying on stream a lot lately. That's actually a huge deal. In my favorite setting for thrones is 10 points to win, 6 level 1s, 6 level 2s, 3 level 3s. Sometimes it's hard to tell which one you're looking at, and it can be very important. In this game, I use that to scry on this throne, this throne, this throne, this throne, and you can actually scry above you. You still have to count the number of provinces, but I scried this throne too. And I think I did that guy at one point. Yeah, you can tell because I'm not here, I don't have a spy, and yet I know what throne is here. And because I was able to do that, I actually knew that in this game, I had 9 VPs down here, and I needed 1 surface throne. So this is the one I used to win the game. But that was very, very nice on that. I asked but didn't get confirmation on Discord. I had a point where I had one of those events with a cult here, and I was trying to patrol it out. I scried here, and the immediate turn afterwards, I got into a fight with them and caught them. But I don't know if that was because I scried or I just lucked out that I finally caught them while patrolling. I'm looking for confirmation on that. Please let me know down below if scrying can catch things like subversive cults, because that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing if that's the case. Beyond that, scrying gives you perfect intelligence. So if you don't want to ping a throne with a scout, you can use that to see exactly what's there. Pretty darn nice. You can use that to find sneaking units, things like that. And range 6 is pretty darn good. Like, 6 is farther than you think. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, that's a long ways into minions. That's essentially anywhere in the underworld in this size of game, and a good chunk of the surface. Like, I could scry most of this area because I can count over to a cave entrance and then out from the cave entrance. Very, very powerful there. Next, all of our troops have dark vision, so we almost always are going to have the advantage underground against overworlders, or at least not be at a penalty with other underground people. That's just something of note. In this game, I didn't have any opportunity to get underwater, but if I did, we're not good at it, but we can get there. Like, I'm not going to beat Ys in their home pond, but, I could snag this throne, maybe. It would be difficult, but I could get statues down there. I could take this and then build a fort and then recruit some wet ones to help me. Like, this is doable. Like, this is totally doable. There's some nations that you're just basically not able to take underwater thrones. So we have a lot of options available. We can take the underground thrones, no problem. Surface thrones, no problem. And underwater with a little bit of work. So that's a pretty nice bonus there. Beyond that, underground has really good sites. We have a lot of silver mines, gold mines, gem producing spots, hidden gold mine. So underground is actually really, really good money. Like, for some reason in my head, I always think, oh, I'm going to be poor if I'm underground. But that's really not the case. If you're an underground nation, you probably have bonus income in gold from forts. And with easy site searching, I think most of them are earth, but maybe some of them are fire. You'll find gems, you'll find iron mines for resources, gold mines, silver mines, just all kinds of stuff. So the site amount seems to be rather high underground. And some really cool ones, like here's Crystal Flames, Fire and Astral. How cool. Very, very nice there. Beyond that, we have a cap-only mage, our slow to recruit Holy 3, but our Golem Crafter's not terrible. Like I said, we're not really an evocation powerhouse, but for a recruit anywhere guy, he's okay. We can do a couple different things with him, so we have at least a little variety. He can summon Earth Power up to Earth 2. He can get to Phoenix Power with some help, so we have Fire 2. That's pretty nice. That's something we can use. Our troop lineup is okay. Our Sacreds that are recruitable are all right. Shard Guards, maybe even on the good side, I would say. That's just such a really nice weapon. It's unfortunate they don't also have Mind Blast. That would make them absolutely amazing. But we can summon in some who do Mind Blast, so take that as you will. Pretty darn nice. However, our statues are just so sweet. Right here. So this is my surviving statues from the game. I have lost a few. I've been on a throne battle spree here right at the end of this one. I took this game all the way to victory because I was having so much fun. But, I mean, this is the guy in practice. I don't have... Because I claimed the throne ended turn, I don't actually have the battle to show you, unfortunately. But they are really, really cool. Another one. Let me change my test game over. I want to show you something cool here. Okay, this is my other test game here. And I was not playing this one particularly seriously. I came in here to do a very specific test. And that test was on Enchanted Blood. Enchanted Blood works on your statues. What that means is we can get a very cheap bless that also gives us some regeneration. Normal regeneration does not work on our statues. So normally we have to go with Reconstruction, which is kind of a pricey Earth Bless. Enchanted Blood is cheap. You only need Blood 4, and it's also not incarnate, which means that you can go kind of greedy and still use statues early. So in this game, I think you can already see my bless here. We'll talk about it on Pretenders, but this was actually really potent. This was actually really potent. So I'm going to let this one play through. In fact, you could just see it. I think I marched out of low Dominion into high Dominion. So my maximum HP raised, but I'm not at a lab, so I didn't automatically heal up. So I have 15 more HP that I could have, so I'm at 27. And these guys are just going to heal up as we go into combat. So pretty nice little bonus there. The Enchanted Blood also works on our Shard Guards, of course. Helping them out can be pretty nice. In addition, because there are some magic resist spells that target magic beings, we're able to buff our magic resistance somewhat with Enchanted Blood. Here I took a lot of magic scales, so we're actually at a penalty normally, so this helped lower the penalty at least. Pretty handy, pretty handy. So normally, big club guys were not resistant to the damage, but on this bless, we have 27 protection, and we're regenning, albeit slowly, but we're regenning. So that is pretty good. With normal reconstruction, you generally only actually regen 2 HP per round, whereas this is half an HP per round essentially. So it's not actually that big of difference. So Enchanted Blood is really interesting as a statue bless. It also has the side benefit, as mentioned. It applies to our living units, whereas Reconstruction does not. So you can see here, we've got our Enchanted Blood. So that means our Shard Guard, which you will have a lot of. Like, again, this isn't an actual game. I was just ending turn over and over again to test this. But, yeah. These guys getting a little bit of regen. I mean, 20 protection. I don't think I have any... No, I do have a protection buff up right now. So 20 protection, 28 HP. We're regening. We have 14 magic resistance. This is pretty interesting. So yeah, just wanted to point out specifically, I saw people asking, does Enchanted Blood work on them? And the answer is yes. Very well, actually. It works very well. Beyond that, I think that's what I want to say about bringing it all together. It's a fun nation. We're very slow on the map move. I don't think I called that out particularly well earlier, but map move 6, map move 12, map move 16, 16, 14. We're not going to be zipping anywhere. And even our statues, 20, and that's because they're essentially tireless. They could march forever, but we don't even have a leader who can really move around at 20. So oftentimes we're going to be moving very ponderously. So you'll probably be fighting in your own dominion a lot, I think is where I'm trying to go with that. So you can kind of count on some of that extra HP buff that you're going to get from there. Okay, I've already alluded to it a little bit. Let's look at Pretender design. Let's hop out of here and we'll look at some that I have made for us. For Pretender choices, we do not have a very large pool. We do have a few that are relatively rare or unique to us, but overall not too many. On the bright side, I think a lot of these are actually pretty viable. So if you have just a favorite you see here, you probably can play it. Or just some other cool ones here. We do have a Leader of the Closed Council. For 130 points, though, for an Earth 1, you're essentially getting Fortune Teller 20. This guy's vastly overpriced. This guy should be like 100 tops. So I'm a little disappointed in him. Moving up to Dominion 2, we have an Ageless Olm. He's only 120 points. That's okay. I could pay that. He comes in with Water 1, Earth 1. He does raise our Sloth limit, but that's fine. We can take Sloth if we want to. Now, Sloth 3, maybe that's pushing it too far. But if you just want an absolute Hellbless, you could do it. You could survive, I think. We have Summonable Sacreds, so that's how we're going to get around that. So I think this is interesting enough. Do note, he's not a combat guy. Like, he's got 5 protection and no body slot. But you could bring him in as a mage commander or something. He could do okay. A lot of people really like the dragons. I find them hard to use often. This is a nation that could do it. You could take something... What kind of damage is this? Acid damage, probably not that guy. But you could do like poison damage, and you could shoot it through your statues who are essentially immune to poison. So again, we could take the Sloth limit so we could get some extra points back. 260, that's a bit pricey. Awake, I don't know if you can afford it, but options. Eldest Cyclop, if you want to go with some construction. Another unique, we have the Risen Oracle. He raises your death scale limit. Comes in with Earth and Death magic. He is also immortal. Every 3 months, he'll just come back. That's really nice, just having a god that can automatically come back. You don't have to worry about if you lose him somehow. He also has a good fortune teller trait, fear. I'm not like super in love with him, but I could see this guy being something that works. He has fear. He has all slots. He has protection type pathing. I could see maybe making something of him. Moving up to Dominion 3, we have Earth Made Flesh. Earth Made Flesh here is an interesting one, if I think rather overpriced. 270 points, not trampling even. That's pricey. He does come in with Earth 3, Water 1. That could be interesting. Lots of reinvigoration. Could be interesting there. Could be useful. You definitely are gearing this guy if you're going to try to use him, or her, I suppose. It's interesting. I don't know about that one. You could use the Great Mother, good trampler chassis, raises your growth limit if you want to go like really into scales. We have various Earth and Death ones here. I do think Titan of the Forge is interesting. We do not have a natural Forge bonus, so this would give us somebody who could do that. Help us preserve a little bit of those Fire Gems and Earth Gems for other uses. He also raises your productivity scale. So if you're not dumping Sloth, maybe you want to go like really high production, you could try that. Death stuff here, if you are a death enjoyer, including the Demi-Lich. I love to hate you, my friend. Anunnaki of the Underworld is a chassis I quite like. She has reanimation bonuses, which could be pretty interesting. That does apply to Soulless, Long Dead, and Ghouls. It doesn't apply to your Umbrals or anything. Unfortunately, that'd be very cool. Moving up to Immobiles, we get the Crystal Soul. This does give you a sight that gives you a glamour gem. Even if you start in prisons, you start with the sight. This is a way you could make sure you could break yourself into some minor glamour if you wanted to do that. Earth 1, glamour 2, but it does raise your magic limit. We do like magic scales because we would like to be able to get a lot of research out of those Earth readers who are slow but efficient researchers. So there's definitely something to be said about that. We have the Golden Pillar. This is a relatively unique one. I know Agartha gets it. I don't know who else down here can take it, but it's nice in that it is cheap. It's only 120 points for an Earth 3. So if you want to go really high in Earth, this will make it relatively cheap to do. Do note 40 for a different path, though. So if you want to diversify, that's going to cost you. Brings up order scales. I'm not sold on order scales particularly, but resistant to lots of damage types, as is the monolith. Do note, if you take a Reconstruction Bless, that applies to all these inanimates up here. So you could have like a Reconstructing Monolith or Pillar, etc., etc. We have the Sacred Geyser. I like this guy quite a bit. Do note, he has unteleportable. You cannot move your geyser. Comes in with fire and water. Can be pretty handy there. We have the Blood Fountain. If you did want to go like ultra cheap, which I don't think you want to do on this nation, but you could. This is going to give you very cheap Blood Surge. You'd only need Blood 4 to be able to take it. Raises your Turmoil, and you can use that to pay for an extra magic scale. That could be a thing. You could blood hunt your capital if you're a super blood enjoyer. And the Oracle. Again, a way to get a little bit of glamour, although this one doesn't have glamour income, so I don't know how you're spending that. But it is something. Oracle's okay. Let's take a look at who I've actually created. We have Pool. This is a Sacred Geyser. I liked this one a lot. The bigger of the two test games I was showing earlier was where I found this guy, and I was like, oh, I want to play this one. He comes in with Quickness and Reconstruction at Dormant. He gets 2 attack skill in addition. I found this very helpful for both our Shard Guard and our statues. One of our big weaknesses is low attack density on mediocre attacks. 2 attack from this and 2 attack from Quickness takes our 11 attack up to 15. 15 is very respectable. And 15 on magic cursing weapons on our Shard Guard is really nice. And even while we don't have him out, even getting 13 attack on those Shard Guards is noticeably better. Good for repelling and good for killing things. It made a lot of difference. Quickness is really nice for our statues who don't have fatigue. So they're not going to tire out by going faster. And that takes their bad attack density of 2 up to 4, which is at least okay. It's not good attack density, but it's not bad either. It's middle of the road. Very, very nice there. It also raises our combat speed. Our statues have between like 6 or 8 combat speed. It's very slow walking across the battlefield. And if you're fighting someone with a ton of mages, they're going to punish you. They're going to punish you hard while you slowly walk over there. This will half the time it's going to take you to close with them. In addition, it also gives you 2 extra defense skill. And while none of our guys are like super elfy type troops, 12 to 14 defense is respectable. And against mediocre troops, they're going to struggle to hit that. That could be pretty nice. I did take Reconstruction on this one, and it was for a specific reason. You could drop this. You could go Blood 4 and take Enchanted Blood. I think that would be totally viable. That means you wouldn't have to go as high in Earth. You could drop the Earth and go Blood 4, and then whatever you'd have to take to pay for that. maybe drop a little attack skill. So this would be much cheaper and you could raise your scales. But it is nice not having to worry about going to labs to heal up your units. You're just going to regen at the end of combat. Plus, this applies to your immobile god if it ever comes to that. And I wanted him to be able to cast Deep Blood Earthwell. And to do that, I basically needed to have a high earth here. I wanted to guarantee it. No crafting shenanigans, no empowering anything. I just wanted to be able to do it. So that is the reasoning on that, although I think changing for Enchanted Blood would be very viable here. Overall, I like this guy a lot. I really like this Bless. Good for repelling, surprisingly. Good for the double attacks. Okay on the regeneration. Very fun. I like that one. Next, I have Deep Forge. This is the second one you were looking at, the blessing from that one. Actually, hold on. Let's go back to Pool. I want to talk about scales. 7 Dominion. I do think you want a relatively strong Dominion because you get 10% HP per candle. You want that to be pretty high. Having 3 to 5 candles when you have to do a throne battle or something, that's up to 50% more HP just right there. And you could go higher. You could go up to double if you can get it to 10 somehow. That makes your statues much, much more resilient. And for reconstruction, it is a percentage-based, I believe it's 5 or 8% regen. So getting extra HP makes this much better, whereas Enchanted Blood does not. It is just half a HP per round. So every other round you get 1 HP. So important that we get high Dominion here. 7's high enough that it's hard to recruit all your Shard Guards, but that also means that you can get most of your Shard Guards and a Sacred Mage without feeling too bad. I didn't find that the Turmoil Sloth was too much of a detriment. You could still get plenty of troops. We have that underground money and resource bonus. It was fine. I took the extra heat because underground you're unaffected by seasonal temperature scales. So generally speaking, you're not going to get pop kill underground from scales. And we have some cold-blooded stuff, and we do some fire magic, and we have a Magma Child who does fire things. So all that leans me towards taking heat. Because of what I had here, I took Magic 2 and Luck 1. So I actually had a pretty decent amount of good events. Some extra gems here and there. I think I got a lab, some extra money. I just didn't want to have bad events that made me lose money, made me lose gems, or lose population. So that was my thought process on that. The extra research from 2 Magic is also pretty darn nice. Secondly, here we have the Deep Forge. He is also dormant. He went 2 attack skill, hard skin, and Enchanted Blood. Hard skin means our statues have 27 protection. 27 protection. Just naturally. You could get that a little bit higher with buffing. You could probably get another 1 to 3 on top of that. That is ridiculous. That is expander god levels of protection. And because of that, you can get away with just that little bit of regen from Enchanted Blood. And at the end of combat, you'll have a couple rounds where your guys just sit there and heal. So you don't have to feel like you have to go back to a lab constantly to protect your statues, or you could even deploy way in the back of battle and give them a couple rounds to regen before they touch enemy contact in the next fight. Again, extra high earth here. I needed that for hard skin. Additionally, we can do Hall of Statues and Earth Blood just natively off of him. I had the points to spend. I couldn't spend on anything else, so I grabbed 1 air, just on the off chance he could make some Alquills or something. Could be useful. You could definitely stick that anywhere. We also could do some big fire things if we actually get there. So, very versatile. He is not immobile, so that does let him move around. You could give him gear. He could show up to fights and cast spells, whereas our other guys can't do that. He's not even teleportable. So, another bonus to him there. It was noticeable, like I said, I was kind of specifically testing to make sure Enchanted Blood worked. It was noticeable not having quickness, though. We were much less killy than I was on the other Bless. But both of these guys were very fun. I think I'm leaning towards Pu'ul. It was just fun. I really enjoyed this one. I think it was a cool Bless to be able to do. I may think about it some more and maybe drop Reconstruction and switch this over. If he was a bit cheaper, I would probably either increase our luck or maybe try to get some more attack skill even. Just get attack skill 3 or 4 just to increase the repels and the killiness of our troops. Quite like that. If you are a multiplayer type person, think about getting some resists. That is the way to kill statues, is with magic. So some fire resist, cold resist, lightning resist would definitely be good value for you. And you could go relatively cheap with something. You could do like enchanted blood and then like some rainbow resist and some attack skill. Like you could make that pretty cheap. And the benefit of that would be you could go to like to imprisoned. In fact, let's actually do one of those. I think that's probably worth it. This, I don't like imprisons, and I doubly don't like them on stream because we play short games. You don't get to see them do much if we even make it that far. Let's go with this guy. We're not going to go like super hard here, but let's just see what we would do. So I probably go enchanted blood because it's not, don't have to be awake. And let's take some fire resistance. Let's take some cold resistance. Some shock resistance. Let's see, we don't need that much there. 3 points left. Grab that. Let's get some extra attack skill. And of course, we're going to dump here. Yeah, look at how many points we still have left. You could go ham on this. If you're not going to take anything incarnate because you're going to go imprisoned, oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's just ridiculous. I don't know. We could even add like some more earth. With the earth, we could take something like resilience of the earth. Maybe we take resilience of the earth. Maybe we drop the air that way. So we're looking at 5 fire resist plus some cold. So 15 fire resist, 10 shock resist, 5 cold resist. We could up those. I mean, tons you could do here. I mean, this is so many points. We could go up some more here. We have some better scales. Still have more points. We still have 2 bless points even. So I think this would be pretty valuable. I guess this is incarnate, so maybe we don't go that route. But you get the point. You could make something very, very good here. And if you don't go with anything incarnate, you could make some nasty stuff. Statues that you could just summon in with enchanted blood and all these other things. I think that's very, very viable. So let me know what your favorite god and bless would be here. We just have such a nice little variety of sacreds that all do good different things. I love that. I love summonable sacreds. I think that's very cool. I love that we have holy threes, so we can actually get them blessed. Very, very nice. I love Agartha. Agartha is one of my absolute favorite nations. All right, in conclusion, Agartha is a really fun nation. I think that middle age is pretty strong. I would say it's at least average and probably above average even, especially in its native environment. It's a nation that loves blesses. It's a nation that has some cool mechanics. We have the scrying thing. We have summonable sacreds. We have sacred statues. That's kind of unique. We have holy threes. So much going for the nation. I find them very, very fun. I do think that you have some strong competition underground, and that could be a problem. You also might have troubles getting on the surface if you wait too long and you have powerful competitors up there. Because while our troops are really good underground, especially against people who don't have dark vision, we're very mediocre above ground troops. So just keep that in mind, that people up on the surface may not take kindly to you wriggling your way up there and trying to make a name for yourself. As always, please down below leave any thoughts or ideas you have, other blesses, other strategies for the nation. Love to hear it. Love the discussion there. If you made it this far, hopefully you will leave a like on the video. And if you're not already subscribed, I hope I earned your subscription in this one. If you'd like to support the channel, we have super thanks on. If you join me on stream, we have super chats, and we have channel memberships, which gives you early access to the pregame videos and perhaps other content from other games that I am releasing at the time. Either way, much appreciated for those who support the channel financially or just come and hang out and are just generally cool people. Thank you, builders, for making this an enjoyable process. All right, everybody, I will catch you in the next one. Get out there and build some statues.